The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Ella from CCIQ and I'm your facilitator for today. Joining us today is Deanna, Manager of International Trade at CCIQ, and special guest Alison Artia, CEO of Skin02. Thank you for joining us for the third webinar in our 7-part series. Today's fundamental is on market entry strategy options. There are a variety of ways in which a company can enter a foreign market, but not one market entry strategy works for all international markets. There will be a number of factors that will influence your choice of strategy, such as tariff rates, marketing, and transportation costs. Today, Deanna will be discussing in detail the market entry strategy options that are available for exporting, as well as providing you with information on how to accurately identify which option may best suit your business. You will also hear from Alison about Skin02's journey with exporting and what processes were involved with deciding on their international target market and market entry strategy options. Before we start, if you would like to ask Deanna or Alison a question, you can do so at any time during the webinar using the chat box that appears in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. I will now hand over to Deanna, who will take you through today's presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar of our webinar series, 7 Fundamentals of Export. My name is Diana Georgieva, and I'm the Manager of International Trade for the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Queensland. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you today part 3 of our webinar series, the 7 Fundamentals of Exporting. And the focus of our discussion today will be on determining the appropriate market entry strategy. I have mentioned in the first couple of webinars, and I will mention it again now, the reasons for delivering this webinar series is to assist Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland members and other Queensland SMEs that are not export ready to become export ready. Becoming export ready refers to a point where businesses become equipped with the required knowledge and skills to successfully venture into trading with international markets. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland can assist your business in increasing your knowledge and capabilities in relation to each of these steps so that your business is in the best possible position for success in the overseas market. To recap from the last couple of weeks, for those who missed the first webinar, the webinar one was on how to assess your product export capabilities and your company export capabilities. We have concluded that once you have established that you have exportable product that your company is capable of exporting, then that you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, then you can build on your strengths and the weaknesses to address, and then you can move to the next step, which is organizing for exports and identifying opportunities. In webinar 2, we discussed the importance of market research, desk research, and in-market research to assist you with organizing for export and also identifying opportunities. And today, in webinar 3, we will start with outcomes from your research to determine the right market entry strategy, and this is the webinar topic for today. The agenda, we will identify the underlying factors which will determine our market entry choices. Then we will outline the most commonly used market entry strategies and will narrow down the discussion to the most commonly used by our members, followed by mistakes to avoid. Let's get started with the underlying factors defining the market entry strategy options choice. The cost of distribution channels. As part of your evaluatory research, you need to consider channels of distribution and their cost, as each additional link in the distribution channel will result in additional cost, which ultimately will impact on your final price and price competitiveness in this market. For some products, the distribution chain can be short, from you, the exporter, directly to the final consumer, and this is called direct exporting. For others, may not be the case, as handling, storage, redistribution can be required, which is in the case with consumer products, for example. This is where indirect exporting is taking place, and we are looking at in-market agents or distributors. Your goal as an exporter is to maximize sales using the shortest distribution channel with the minimum impact on the final user price. And this is where price competitiveness comes into consideration. The level of control, do I want to have a full control of my goods in the case of the agency arrangement, or am I happy another entity to have ownership of my goods? Funds availability, this is not only about the initial funds access. It is also with a reference to the long-term cost effectiveness and expected return on investment. The level of the nature of barriers to entry is another factor that we cannot avoid. In some countries where there are high levels of barriers to entry, perhaps joint venture with local company would be a better way than appointing an agent or a distributor. This is going back to our argument from the previous webinar that you need to research both tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade when evaluating export market attractiveness. The need of a well-connected in the industry person with access to established distribution channel. If this is the case, just having an agent in market for purely representation purpose will not be sufficient. Product-specific requirements is another important factor to consider when evaluating market entry choices. The cosmetic industry is a good example where products application demonstrations for the purpose of selling the product is required. And Alison Aitia, the CEO of Skin02, will tell us in the second part of our webinar today in more detail how her product-specific requirements influence her decisions of market entry choice. After-sales service, with some consumer products, technical support or other after-sales service is required. Can a distributor deliver this or is willing to appoint sub-distributors or service agents to provide? The need of warehousing the product in market to being available for end user. If this is the case, then perhaps agent won't be the most suitable option as they do not have possession of the goods or distribute the stock. And this will lead us to the next point of our discussion today. Who are the most popular market entry strategy options and the advantages or the disadvantages of each of these options? I will be talking more in reference to challenges than disadvantages. So you can see on the screen some popular market entry options. Let's discuss each individually, starting with the direct exporting. This is a strategy where the exporter directly enters the market without using agents or distributors. The biggest advantage of this market entry strategy is that the exporter keeps all profit as they don't have to pay commission to the middleman and also has the control over the distribution of their goods. However, choosing this option, you, the exporter, must be prepared to do all the work. The exporter must personally handle each aspect of the exporting process, starting from the market research to planning and distribution in export market. You'll be facilitating shipments and collecting payments. If you decide to go ahead with this strategy, you need to allocate significant time, resources, and management commitment to have a successful export operation. On another token, this strategy may be the best if your objectives are to achieve maximum profit and long-term growth. Now let's move into the indirect exporting. To engage the services of overseas agent or a distributor is one of the most popular market entry options among exporters and our members. Agents are individuals or companies who are legally authorized to act on your behalf within export market or region. Agents are engaged by you, the exporter, on a fixed commission. Agents don't take title possession of the exporter's goods or they don't distribute them either. Agents do not take legal ownership of the exported goods. Their role is limited to handling orders and the sales paperwork and are also the exporter's contact for a network of importers and distributors. Agents can be engaged as exclusive to be the sole agent for the market, for the exporter's goods, or it can be a non-exclusive arrangement. Some of the key advantages of selecting this market entry option is that provides you with a relatively easy way to enter the export market of interest. Your agent understands the market, speaks the language, and understands the business culture. Via your agent, you have access to the required local expertise and know-how, which is a big plus for a new exporter. Engaging overseas agent is a relatively low cost and low level of risk strategy, which is also positive. When it comes to challenges, choosing the right agent is the key challenge associated with this market entry option, especially if there is a perceived conflict of interest with the agent representing another company offering similar goods. There are also some other challenges, such as the necessity of credit control and the fact that the exporter has no control over sales agents' efforts. You can see on the screen the exporter agent business model. And now let's move to the engaging an overseas distributor market entry strategy option. I use Austria's definition here. Distributor is an individual or company that purchases and maintains inventory of your products and sells directly to buyers in export market. Distributors are paid on a commission basis and have exclusivity of sales territory or of a region. Distributor is the preferred option for many exporters that desire a representative to accept sole marketing responsibilities, including taking possession of the goods. The distributor makes his profit by adding a normal markup to his imported costs. Finding the right distributor is critical to your business. The reputation in the market knowledge and coverage, his connections in the market, the selling skills of this distributor, their ability to plan, their ability to forecast, to be able to conduct meetings, to have people management skills, and to be easy to deal with are some of the many factors that you should be looking when selecting your distributor. This is a very important topic, and we will address in more depth this topic a little bit later in our presentation today. You can see on the screen how the Australian exporter overseas distribution business model for industrial goods look like. And we have another diagram for you for the consumer's products as well. Your distributor is your connection to the retailers, wholesalers, and customers in the export market. So they're a key person who is going to represent your business in market. The three main advantages associated with this market option can be a relatively inexpensive way to get your goods into the market. This distributorship is relatively easy to set up and maintain. And your local distributor will have the required market knowledge, and this is what actually you're aiming when evaluating and selecting a distributor. They must be knowledgeable about the market. Also, the local market knowledge will give your distributor the flexibility to accommodate changes in market. So they're your representative who will be monitoring what is actually going on. Are there any changes in the regulatory or political or economic environment, any of the relevant environments that you need to know and to adjust your strategies accordingly. Other advantages associated with the market, with this market entry option is that distributors usually seek large orders and can be very effective option if you select the right distributor. It is a relatively low risk strategy, manufacturing goods in Australia to be sold to a distributor in export market, and they to sell the products to retailers and other customers is a low risk strategy on the condition that you have a right distributor in place. Again, I'm reinforcing the message here. You have to get it right. Choosing the right distributor is the biggest challenge associated with this strategy. If you're choosing the wrong distributor, it could be of great disadvantage simply because you have a legal agreement with this distributor, and it's going to be very difficult to actually be able to find a solution which is a beneficial solution for you and for this with this person as well. Also, there is another issue that maybe cultural differences at your end and at the other market can lead to misunderstandings between you and distributor. You pretty much will be speaking different languages if you're not culturally aware of the culture. So that's why you do need a very experienced distributor who is from the market, who understands the culture, who understands the business, how the business operates in this market. If we speak about non-exclusive distributorship, the distributor can have more preferences towards selling somebody else's products. That is a challenge that you also should be aware of. And there is also a risk that they can cut you off the market for a period of time. And this is why research and a proper legal contract in place must be your priority when you are finalizing your arrangements with your distributor, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive distributor. With exclusive distributorship, you could also limit your business if you haven't investigated the capacity of this distributor and the territory covered. So the main point here is just make the necessary, organize necessary research, and don't sign any legal papers until you're 100% clear that you're having the right fit with your organization when it comes to distributor choice. Let's look at the hypothetical scenario. You have facilitated one or two export sales to the export market. Your customer offers you an amazing offer to become the distributor of your products. And not only this, he or she requires exclusivity. Your initial reaction probably will be a great deal of joy that you not only found export market, but also an individual who offers to sell your product in this market. Sounds appealing, doesn't it? The next thing, you sign exclusive distributorship agreement and then realize that you're not getting hardly any sales. You raise your concerns with your new distributor, however, this is not getting you anywhere. You undertake some research then, which leads you to the conclusion hard to face. Your distributor does not have the relevant experience, the required connections, and distribution network for your product. What do you do then when you have an exclusivity contract in place? This is just a hypothetical example, but it could happen, and this is why it's critical to take all precautions to select the right distributor or agent in the overseas market. You can see on the screen some points to be covered when assessing your potential distributors. When it comes to distributors' organization, investigate what is the size of the organization, office branch, warehouse, and other locations. Corporate history, how long they've been in business. Ownership and corporate structure, correct legal titles and address. Do they have adequate distribution facilities? And if there is a conflict of interest, are they looking after other companies with a similar product as yours? If so, be aware, worst case scenario, you can be taken out of the marketplace before you even start. When it comes to their financial resources and performance, you need to establish their financial performance history, 3 years financial data, trade and bank references, and the profit margin expectations. When it comes to marketing and sales performance, you need to determine market performance history and capabilities, products currently represented, sales performance with other product lines and current product range compatibility, market coverage, and to what extent, what regions, areas they're covering. In relation to the management resources, some of the aspects you need to review are the company organization and staffing, management skills and experience, the distributor's management style, physical distribution capabilities, check after-sales services capabilities if this is relevant to your products, distribution capabilities, availability of specific distribution facilities if required, and administrative systems and controls to keep all on track. The distributor's image and reputation in market is a critical aspect of your evaluation. So as your gut feeling, can you work with this person in a long term and can you trust this person with your business? I realized I've given you quite extensive checklist of points to consider when evaluating your potential agent or a distributor. Just pick what is relevant to your business, and if assistance is required, please contact us here at CCIQ. When it comes to managing your distributors, the very first step will be to clearly define their responsibilities. Once both your distributor and yourself are clear on the requirements, then you need to define how you will add value to your relationship with the distributor, to develop mutual business and to perform as per expectations. The activities with your distributor are very likely to fall into 6 main categories: communicating, planning, motivating, performance monitoring, training, and auditing. As you are your company ambassador, you must effectively communicate your company philosophies, policies, programs, and your objectives. You also have to communicate your enthusiasm about your company and its products. When it comes to planning, you might have to develop plans for the marketing strategy and communications, sales strategies and promotional activities, sales targets and forecasts, and benchmarking performance. To achieve the required success, the key is to make sure that your plans and objectives are realistic. You're responsible for the motivation of your agents or distributors and their respective sales team. This should be an ongoing activity, especially when it's non-exclusive distributorship where your product is one of many. Considering that you're not based in the export market and very likely you don't speak the language, you need to find an effective way to motivate the overseas team at all levels, owners, managers, and the sales team. Performance monitoring is the next activity point with your distributor. You need to establish a system both here for Australia and the export market to measure performance against standards, targets, and objectives, provide feedback, and prompt corrective actions. In general, if you set up a monthly reporting system on key information from your overseas distributors or agents, this will help you to monitor how your distributor is progressing against targets. Timely and competitive comprehensive feedback is essential, especially when you have to take some corrective actions when it comes to your plan, due to changing market conditions. Training your distributor and the sales team where appropriate is very important and you can't ignore it. No point of having marketing on sales strategies if your distributor's training is neglected and the message will be lost. Areas most likely to cover in your training are the distributor management, which includes the team motivation, sales planning, field sales management, product knowledge, and performance management. And when there is a sales team involved, you might need to cover the distributor salesperson's management, which include selling skills, territory management, objective settings, account management, and product knowledge. You need to train your distributor and their respective sales team as you have your own standards, and trying to train them to learn new standards versus trying to correct flaws in their systems and processes. It may take some time considering that you're dealing with a different culture and in a different business environment. When it comes to training, consider a two-level approach. Training about your company, products and product applications, training about basic management and selling skills as part of the training sessions in the market, followed by the distributor and the sales team and yourself visiting a number of clients, this theory to be put into practice. So you can make sure this way that your distributors are trained properly, so is their sales team. The initial training must be done in market versus electronic means. This is also a critical aspect for the development of your relationship with the distributor. When you have overseas distributor, you need to budget and plan for frequent visits to the market, because your operation is not going to be run smoothly if you're just remaining in Australia without being in contact with your distributor. Let's have a look now at the last activity, auditing. Conducting field audits are important to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of your distributor and how they're meeting your objectives and sales targets. So you need to factor for field audits in your planning stages. Now that we have covered quite extensively the agent and the distributor market entry strategies, we will discuss briefly another very commonly used market entry strategy, joint venture. In order to develop greater control over sales and distribution and to handle local manufacturing, assembly and packaging, some manufacturers set up a foreign subsidiaries or joint ventures operations with local partner. Joint venture is an arrangement between two or more parties to share a form of a new entity for a mutual benefit. The advantages: this strategy allows maximum servicing the export market, as your joint venture partner will take care of the export operations in this market. It is a very useful strategy to overcome cultural and language sensitivity, accreditation in export market when it's required, competitive pricing, and legal status in the market. In some cases, a joint venture partner could be the only way to set up in a market, as could be government restrictions in relation to foreign owned subsidiaries set up in the country. Additional advantage with the joint ventures is the joint venture is a way to minimize the political and economic risk exposure, as you have a local company versus foreign entity, gains access to broader market share, and bypass barriers to trade, and sharing of risk and costs with the local partner, which is also a big plus. Access to a greater pool of resources, technology, and finance is also a big plus in relation to this market entry strategy option. In addition, tax advantages, access to market knowledge, experienced labor, access to suppliers are among the additional benefits for selecting this market entry option. There are challenges associated with the joint ventures. Selecting the right partner is a big one. You need a partner who complements your strengths and weaknesses, rather than pursuing their own interests only. You have to be clear about your strengths, your weaknesses, and objectives. Once you're clear on what your contribution will be, then you will be looking for the right partner to meet your expectations and objectives. And having this right partner is critical to your business venture in this market. So don't take this decision lightly. Other challenges you might face with joint ventures is profit sharing. You don't have the full profit as you're sharing it with a partner. Partners may have different objectives, and repatriation of profits also could be another issue, and this could be a result of change in government regulations. Loss of control due to not able to manage the overseas entity. It could be also challenges associated with the different management styles, which is also a lot to do with the cultural aspects of doing business in this country. and this could lead to miscommunications or poor cooperation. Joint venture market option is usually more expensive than direct or indirect exporting, as a certain level of investment is required. So you must consider all various factors involved before to select this option. The next market entry strategy option we're going to be briefly covering today is licensing. Licensing is a grant of permission, usually for a payment of loyalty or a fee by the licensor to the licensee to exploit some form of IP right. Patent, trademarks, copyright, or design. Patents, processes, technology, trademarks can be licensed to another business in an export market. When the exporter wants to serve multiple markets simultaneously but don't have the required resources in terms of production and marketing capacity, may choose to pass their technological know-how to partners in these markets. Among other advantages, this is a good option to get access to difficult markets where other options may not be appropriate. Licensing new technology, for example, to be manufactured by another entity is a relatively low risk as long as you take measures to protect your intellectual property. Other advantages: improve servicing of your markets, and companies with little international experience can profit from local partners' marketing know-how, which is also a good advantage. When it comes to challenges, lack of control over the local partner, the licensee, is one of the main challenges this market entry option presents. Also may not be applicable option for all export markets of interest. Franchising is a sophisticated form of licensing, where the franchisor usually remains in considerable control over the market development. McDonald's global franchise is a good example of how a business through franchising can expand operations to over 100 markets. If you go to Osaka or in New York, you will see the same branding and similar setup as the Australian restaurants. You may find that McDonald's is implementing a global strategy with elements of localization to accommodate the local foods and beverage tastes. Key advantages of franchising as a market entry strategy choice are the wide market coverage and a relatively quickly to set up, as you're just following established model established by the franchisor. However, substantial investment may be required in terms of funds and ongoing support of the franchise. Let's use our McDonald's franchise example again. According to McDonald's website, to open McDonald's franchise, initial investment of $1.2 million is required, along with additional funds for attending training programs, in addition to ongoing franchisee fee, and very likely other non-disclosed fees costs are involved. So franchising could be a very expensive market entry option choice. The final market entry option discussion today will be on foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment occurs when Australian business invests directly into facilitating through their own facilities in the export market. So pretty much involves Australian exporter manufacturing or acquiring operations in the export market. In some cases, when there is a 100% foreign direct investment, we have the wholly owned subsidiary, could be very costly. However, the benefits can be substantial in terms of management control in place, control over production, marketing, and distribution, access to raw materials, and achieving economies of scale due to increased level of production and reduction in unit costs as the production costs are spread over a large number of goods. The key challenges with the foreign direct investments is that could be subject to foreign government restrictions. Not always will be able to set up a wholly owned subsidiary in some markets. You will need to have a joint venture partner instead, and could be very high risk due to the high level of investment. It is important to select the right market entry strategy for your business marketing products. You can change the strategy over time as you will be becoming more knowledgeable about the market and what is the best way to do business in this market. A proper market strategy option evaluations must be conducted at your end and see what suits you most at the time. In general, you may consider direct exporting as the best option when you have sufficient knowledge and connection in the market. You're culturally aware and understand how to do business in this market, and you have the commitment to work directly with clients in this market. However, if you don't have this, then perhaps looking into engaging the services of an agent or distributor could be a better option. If you require professional accreditation in market, you need to offer competitive pricing, or taxation is an issue, legal status, you need technical expertise, and you want to achieve better market coverage, then you may consider joint venture as the best market entry option. If assistance is required in relation to market entry strategy options evaluations, please contact the CCIQ. Our experienced international trade team will be able to assist, or alternatively, you can speak to our colleagues from Austrade or Trade Investment Queensland. I will conclude today's topic with some key messages for you. Treat your distributors in export market in a similar manner to your domestic distributors. Make sufficient efforts in selecting your overseas distributors. Invest in training and monitoring performance of your overseas distributors, and don't be close-minded when it comes to market entry strategy decisions. Base your market entry decision on a thorough research and evaluation of market entry options worth making assumptions and hoping for the best. And this is the end of my presentation today. I have also included a slide from a previous webinar, and I continue actually including this slide for you because it's valuable to know all the different partners and resources that you can actually use in relation to your export ventures. There are many resources available for you to find helpful information, advice, and support when you're looking to export your products. And asking this assistance from reliable sources allows you not only to collect your data, but also to further understand the requirements involved with exporting and to ensure that your business is in the best possible position prior to entering the overseas market. And if help is required, please get in touch with us, and we will get in touch with the right person in the right organization to help your export venture succeed. And this is the last for my presentation today. Now I would like to introduce you to our special guest speaker, Alison Aitia, the CEO of the Skin02. Alison, we appreciate you coming to share with us your experience today. Please give us an overview of your business, Skin02.
Thank you, Diana, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. It's a pleasure to share our journey with you. Skin02 was established in 2005. We were originally created by doctors for our patients' skin concerns. We provide Australian doctor-formulated vegan cosmetics, which is suitable for all skin types, especially acne-prone or sensitive skins. We have over 80 SKUs, 60 makeup and skincare products, and about 20 professional in-clinic salon facial treatment products. We're sold in pharmacy, doctors' clinics, and beauty salons, as well as online. Actually, we recently won the 2019 Health and Beauty Award for the Kempro Pharmacy Group here in Australia. We were up against brands such as Ego, Natio, and designer brands. And in 2014, the year before we launched into the Middle East, we were also a category winner for the Gold Coast Business Excellence Award.
Thank you, Alison. When did you start exporting to the Middle East, and why did you choose Middle East and the United Arab Emirates in particular as your first export market?
That's a great question. We launched into the Middle East with our distributor in May 2015. However, our first export market was in Taiwan and Korea. But Skin02 actually made the news headlines for our Middle East launch, along with the Kardashians, who are also launched at the Dubai Beauty Expo with their products. We took Miss Teenage Australia to support our UAE distributor and their team to launch at the Beauty Expo, and our products actually sold out on the second day. We chose the Middle East, and in particular the United Arab Emirates, as an initial trading hub to allow for adaptation of our brand and to help expansion to the wider MENA region. We actually discovered the Middle East market opportunities through the Gold Coast City Council. The Gold Coast actually has a sister city relationship with Dubai, and it was the extensive City Council market research that gave us invaluable knowledge and understanding of the opportunities in the region. We had done all the Queensland government Get Expo Ready courses, much like this one today, and put in an application to be part of the trade mission. We were so happy when Skin02 was selected, along with a few other leading Gold Coast companies, to attend the Arab Health Trade Mission. And it was a fabulous opportunity to be part of the Gold Coast City Trade Stand, especially in the Middle East. Having Brand Australia and our city stamp of approval went such a long way to help establish trusted trade relations in a new country.
What an exciting story to share with us, Alison. Thank you. My next question is, as there are various market entry strategies available, what market entry strategy did Skino2 select to expand export operations to the United Arab Emirates? And to be more specific, what was the decision-making process behind deciding that this was the best market entry strategy for exporting your products?
Well, we actually chose the distribution model, firstly because this is how we had structured our global distribution strategy, as it was the best fit for our products and the servicing of those products, as well as financially. Our brand is just not about the sell-in, so it really requires good after-sales service, training and support. So we had to find a distributor who had a good team that were well established and very experienced in providing good after-sales service, and most importantly that they had the same core values and visions as our company. Secondly, as mentioned before, we wanted to establish a trading hub for the wider Middle East MENA region, so UAE was an easy stepping stone market to help establish and adapt our brand for the greater region. And thirdly, there was a lot of legal and cultural considerations with regards to product registration, as well as adapting our contracts to be strong and well adapted to abide by the strict and very different local laws.
Thank you, Alison. How did you implement this strategy within your business without putting pressure on your domestic operations? Did you appoint a manager to look after the domestic operations while you were establishing the business in the United Arab Emirates?
This is a great question. Initially, it was quite hard. We relied on our family, and then as things grew, we had to put on extra staff and a manager to look after the domestic market, as I was spending more time to support overseas. It can be really tough initially for a smaller business, but it's definitely worth it financially once your business is export ready by going through courses like this. The financial gains are worth it, and all the initial extra efforts and sacrifices it takes to be market ready pay off.
Thank you, Alison. What processes did you use to evaluate, select, manage and train your distributors? And has this process always been smooth?
Well, we have a strict selection criteria, quite similar with what you've gone through today. So especially in the Middle East, where you can be bound to a company for life, if you're not careful with your contracts and how it's worded, the hardest part was weeding through all the companies that wanted to partner with us. So that meant lots of screening and lots of no's to find the right distributor. And with regards to management and training, this is not a lot different to our domestic processes that we have in place, except we just needed to spend time to adapt some of the training and the processes to better fit the culture, which takes just a lot more initial work when you first launch into market.
Thank you, Alison. What is the best piece of advice you can give to a new exporter to select and implement the right export strategy among all alternatives?
Do multiple in-market visits and assessments, and in this really review the competitors and strategies and methods in the market, review the local market reports and trends, and where possible make sure this is from valid local source like your local government and trade representatives, and seek professional local legal advice for contracts and registrations. And it's really important to network and speak to other traders in the region so you can learn from both their mistakes and their successes.
Thank you, Alison. And the last question for today is, why did Skino2 get involved with CCIQ? And how has this helped your business?
Well, CCIQ is a voice for and a support for anyone in the business community. It's so tough being alone and sometimes starting out as a smaller business. But with CCIQ, they have done a lot of the hard groundwork for you. So being a member gives our business access to trusted training and updates from everyday business support to global trade expansion. CCIQ provides access to essential business networks, as well as listening to our business feedback to help push for positive government outcomes and much needed change for our business community. For international trade, they have a team of passionate experts that guide you through the process to really make it be as easy as it can be. And we could not have grown our business without their service and support. So a big thanks to you, Diana, and your team.
Well, thank you, Alison. Thank you so much for sharing your successes with us and for being able to help you with your growth. This is a real privilege for us to be of help to your business. We're wishing you all of the success with conquering other markets. And we thank you for all your support throughout the years in being a member of CCIQ International. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna and Alison. We have some time to just run through a question that we've received throughout today's webinar. Deanna, that question is, what is the most cost-effective option to export overseas?
Good question. If you have a customer base already in your selected market, direct exporting would be the cheapest cost-effective option, as you're not paying any commission to distributors and there is no initial investment required. However, if you don't have your customers and you need to do all the work in relation to developing your export market, may not be necessarily the option that should be using.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that, Deanna. That's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank Deanna for taking the time to present, and a big thank you to Alison for coming in to share your story about exporting. I'd also like to thank everyone who has joined us for today's session. All registrants will receive a copy of the webinar recording and presentation slides, which you should receive early next week. We're also holding our next webinar, which is Fundamental 4, Marketing and Planning Considerations. That will be on the 2nd of May, so to be sure to register for that through the CCIQ website. Aside from that, thank you for joining us today, and on behalf of the team at CCIQ, we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.